Drought relief is ahead for much of southern Australia over the next week. I'm going to get through all the details. Now, we do have widespread drought through New South Wales and parts of northern Victoria. As a result, the farmers, well, they're pulling out the bathtubs, assuming they're filling them with water to give the cattle something to drink. There wouldn't be too much water in the lakes and dams right now through the inland part of southeastern Australia. 3 days ago, we saw some storms bubbling away through the northern Indian Ocean. Now, upper-level winds are carrying moisture from those storms across the nation, and that warm tropical air, as it moves south, is being lifted above colder air from the south, and the result of that is a northwest cloud band. This is the system we've been waiting for. Check out how extensive that cloud band was there on Friday morning over southern Australia, a classic northwest cloud band. And as a result, we do have rain falling through southern Australia. It's indicated there by the green shading, continuing to Saturday morning for New South Wales and then clearing off the coast later on Saturday. A little higher replacing it, but there's more rain on the way. Another front hitting southwest WA this weekend, which will bring a further band of rain, and we're expecting that rain will reach southeastern Australia during the first half of next week. Let's get into the details for the southeast. Solid falls today through farming areas of South Australia, northern Victoria and southern New South Wales. Widespread falls along the Murray River in excess of 10 millimetres. Lighter falls extending up to central New South Wales overnight and then clearing off the east coast. Now, one little rain event is obviously not enough to break a drought, but it's more than one. We've got another one on the way. Let's keep going with this forecast rain then. Dry conditions for Sunday, although coastal showers for New South Wales. Then the next system moves into South Australia on Monday, and then on Tuesday, another burst of rain spreading through the southeast. Again, it's down along the Murray River, where we'll have the best falls. Not a lot reaching central New South Wales. And then Wednesday next week, a third band of rain again moving through far southeastern Australia. The big question is how much rain will fall. This is what we expect over the next 8 days. Now that darker shading there, that shows 25 to 50 millimetres of rain. That's a great fall along the Murray River, northern Victoria, far southern New South Wales, most agricultural parts of South Australia, although lighter just in the far northern pastoral districts, and good falls for northern and western Tasmania. For central west New South Wales, where the drought is quite severe, the totals are lighter. For the northern central west, say north of about Dubbo, less than 10 millimetres of rain over the next week. But those southern areas should see around 15 millimetres, so some handy falls on the way. Now, for much of the Murray Basin, this will be the heaviest rain so far this year. So good falls on the way. It's going to get the grass growing. We've still got a cloud band and some rain over the inland part of Western Australia. That's breaking down over the next couple of days. Here comes our next front. A burst of showers late Saturday and Sunday through the southwest land division. Heavy falls for the west coast. We're not going to see widespread severe weather, but there will be isolated storms in the mix, and as a result, we could see localised severe weather coming through on the weekend. On Monday, that band moves towards the east, easing back to light showers along the southwest coast. How much rain for WA over the next week? Again, solid falls. What a turnaround in the last 3 weeks for Western Australia. Now, for the farmers, well, we'll get 1 to 10 millimetres, even heavier falls for the far western part of that farming area. But along the west coast over the next week, widespread falls of around 25 to 50 millimetres. That includes Perth and hopefully some good falls around Albany, where they've missed out on the good rain over the last few weeks. Here's a national picture then as we move through the middle and the end of next week. You can see these bands of rain lining up. Now, they're coming through with cold fronts. And the cold fronts are hitting because the subtropical ridge of high pressure, there it is, has moved north to central and northern Australia. That's where you want it at this time of year. Now, with all these cold fronts moving through, that means snow. And we need snow because it's the opening of the snow season and there's no snow on the ground and we're not going to get much over the next couple of days. It's a bit of a mix of rain and snow on Friday and Saturday. And again here, just very light snow for the top of the mountain around Tuesday next week with that second band of rain. But then it gets colder and we're expecting some perhaps moderate snowfalls to come through towards the middle and the end of next week. At this early stage, it looks like for the higher resorts, around 20 centimetres of snow over the next week.
Talking a lot about drought across Western Australia as well as the southeastern interior, and just by looking at some of these areas it's obvious that they're in need of rain. But how exactly do we measure drought in Australia and overseas? In fact, everyone uses water differently, whether in rural, regional areas or cities, or if you are a primary producer or in fact run maybe a small commercial business. And those water requirements are, because they're so different, they're measured differently across different things. In Australia, we measure drought based on several things. One, the most obvious one, is the rainfall deficiencies, and that's the amount of rain fallen relative to average. And if there is a deficiency, Well, that's when we are in drought in some areas, particularly over long periods of time, in the scales of months and years, for instance. And that can in turn lead to soil moisture drying out. Now, this is somewhat more useful for primary producers because it measures the availability of water in the top 100 centimeters of the soil profile. Obviously, if you've had a heavy rain recently, that might not saturate into the soil profile. In that case, you would be easing those rainfall deficiencies, but the soil moisture wouldn't be very high. In addition to that, soil moisture also takes into recent temperature trends. If it gets too hot, that moisture evaporates out of the soil. We also look at seasonal trends. For instance, if we haven't seen very much rain and we're entering a dry season in a particular area of Australia, then we could say we're probably going to be entering drought. And for the tropics, we look at the onset and the intensity of the monsoon. Sometimes we don't really get a monsoon developing till later in the season for, say, parts of the Queensland tropics, and that can lead to a degree of drought in those areas. Otherwise, there's more ways to measure drought in different regions of the globe. They're not just dependent on rainfall, they're also dependent on snow. For instance, parts of the western United States and Canada rely on their snowpack depth. It is a desert in some of these regions, and as the snow melts throughout the summer months, that fresh water is what's made available. And if they don't have enough snowpack, well, there's not enough water to sustain it for the summer months. Otherwise, river flows are an often useful indicator of the amount of water that's available, and also vegetation greenness, which can be measured by satellite. Getting back to how we measure it, in Australia, rainfall deficiencies can be indicated by the rainfall deciles, which is a measure of rain relative to average. Now here we have it throughout autumn, and you can see the red shading behind me indicating a huge area of Australia which has experienced a well below average autumn, like the second driest autumn on record. And if we compare that to the soil moisture deficiencies, well, many of these areas are also still dry. And so that's how we can say we are experiencing widespread drought, with now up to 2/3 of New South Wales either experiencing the onset or within drought conditions.